Josh's House of Nerd podcast
is brought to you by Frank Drebin's famous boiled pot roasts. If you are thinking to yourself, how hot and wet do you want your pot roasts? The answer is very hot and awfully wet. Frank Drebin's boiled pot roasts, always as hot and wet as you desire, because it's boiled. Not a sponsor.
And not a kid-friendly podcast.
I know, right? I wrote that one. I'm like, man, that's going to sound super dirty. It's awesome. Because
that's if you hadn't have said that, it wouldn't have been an issue.
I don't know. That was a lot.
Wouldn't, I mean, teenagers would get it, but kids wouldn't get it.
I don't think they'd still get it either. They might look it up at this point.
Sure. Because our demographic has so many kids in it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing.
Definitely
it's like
towards the 9-year-olds.
Most people don't even get that when they're watching the original movie. I mean, and if you don't know what that movie is out there, then figure it out. I'm not going to tell you.
Ooh, somebody's being mysterious today.
I'm trying to be mysterious because I was being mysterious about my titles.
Okay.
You guys spawned me to be cryptic as much as possible, which I'm still probably like garbage, but that's all right. All right, guys. Today on the podcast, John and Crit are here, as you can see, and we are talking about this week's movie, which John gave to us. And John gave to us from the 3 picks, and we picked, me and Crit, the movie Ronin. And why did his name just go out of my head? That's in that movie. I was just going to say Robert De Niro. Yep. I could see his face. If I could just described his face to you in the podcast, that would have been great. So let's talk about this movie. This is the second time I've seen this movie. Crit introduced it to me. I don't know. Was it a couple months ago? And
it was a while ago. It was like last year.
Was it last year? It doesn't feel.
I thought it was last year. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it was 2019.
Wow. Yeah, it doesn't feel like that long ago. But it's I had never seen this before, and Crit kept telling me, and you've been telling me for a while, like, you've got to see this movie, Josh. It's got such good car chases and stuff. And
it does have good car chases.
So, what'd you guys think? I mean, have you seen this one before, John?
Yeah.
I'm just joking. Since you're the one that like picked it out.
I don't know. You can. There's nothing saying you can't pick out movies you haven't actually seen. So
that's actually. I was actually looking at movies today that I hadn't picked out or I'd never seen before. Then I got a little like gun shy, and I didn't.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Oh, absolutely not.
I watched Ronin back when I was in high school and just absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite films in this genre, and probably one of my favorite De Niro films of all time.
Wow.
It's just, I think it's really well done. The car chases are spectacular. I just have a note that says car chases because I didn't need to write anything else because I could probably go on for the full podcast just talking about the car chases and the amount of cars they totaled to make this film, and just like the nuances of those chases was just insane. So no, I've seen this film. I really, really enjoy it, which is a first for me on this podcast because I feel like the last few films I've just crapped on, but Ronin is definitely one that I highly, highly enjoy.
So why do you think that these car chases are so compelling? Like, what would you say, worked in its favor compared to like, other car chases in movies?
I think there's a visceral sense of cars crashing into each other. I don't know how else to put it other than you feel in your gut that this is like a legitimate chase. This isn't just a flashy over the top, oh, here's an explosion for no reason. This is like cars crunching into each other. The audio, I think the sound plays a big key role in these car chases where the sound's always on point and it's always just a heavy, visceral metal sound, and I think that's what causes these car chases to be different. Not always the mechanics of the car chases, because I've seen better chases with the strategy in the cars and how they move up in front of each other and all that jazz. But these ones actually felt legitimate. They felt real and visceral versus a lot of other car chases I've seen that have just been superficial.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I can't name off the top of my head any car chase that's better than the ones in Ronin for me. and I think it comes down to the way they mount the camera, the way they put the real. I mean, obviously they have stunt drivers during outside shots and stuff like that, but from what I understand, and it's been a long time since I heard this, so I might get it wrong. Those interior shots are actually of the actors driving on a course, really trying to do something complicated. That's why they're making the faces that they're making and stuff like that.
It's funny to bring it up. That was one of the things I was going to bring up when you were talking about how good the car chases are, is how much it focuses on the drivers. That's what I felt was kind of unique about this, is a lot of times you get like far away shots or of like, the maneuvers and stuff like that, but you don't necessarily see like the reactions of the people.
And I think the most compelling part for me is the sound is obviously really good, but when they mount the camera on the front of the cars to kind of give you that sense of speed, well, not just the interior, but like they mount it in the front, on the front bumper, and give you like a low down at the street level, kind of view of what the car is, kind of the roads that the car is heading into and the maneuvers being done and stuff like that. It makes me really feel like I'm,
you're driving.
Kind of, yeah. I'm driving. I'm kind of gripping the seat because it's like, and it's a lot of perspective shots. I'm sure the cars aren't going as fast as the camera work makes it out to be, but still, I mean, there was a lot of like.
But the camera work is dang good.
Oh, it is amazing.
It is fantastic.
Yeah. Like you said,
for me, it's the camera work more than the sound that makes those car chases so amazing, because the way they put that together, I mean, you're never really confused about which car is which. You're never confused about where they are in relation to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're always like almost seeing the real effect, when the main driving cars are missing cars, like they're bumping into stuff. I mean, it's not faked. And that's, for me, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I really can only pick out a couple of car chase scenes that, for me, kick Ronins out of the curb, and just for the same reasons that you've listed here.
What are those?
Baby Drivers.
Okay. I don't know if I agree with that one, but I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, Baby Driver kind of kicks it, and then this one's more of the granddaddy of car chases, but Bullet's car chase.
Bullets is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. And that one's partially due to McQueen's skill behind the wheel too. So, I mean, I think there's two good car chases that don't necessarily kick it all the way to the curb, but for me,
so just place it at number 3.
Easy number 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I still think the drama and everything involved with these car chases makes it a number 1 for me, but that's mine.
You know what I like about, I think it also stood out in my mind when you're doing the car chases is, when you're watching a lot of other movies, a lot of other car chases, when you're looking at the scenery around it, sometimes it just feels like a generic road or a generic, something that they just were able to, get permission to film on. I never felt that way with this movie. This movie, in every aspect, it seems like the scenery around it is just beautifully shot. I mean, kind of where you are in Paris a lot of the time, It gives you perspective. I mean, if people who have been there, I mean, that's truly Paris. It looks that way in every respect. And that's what I liked about it. You didn't feel like you're on a studio or anything like that. That was truly the city.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
It was beautifully done.
I've never been to Paris, so I'll take your word for it. I said I've never been to Paris, but it feels like a gritty city, which is, I think,
it is
more realistic. Well, it's more realistic than the
it's
Paris
an old city.
Yeah, it's more realistic than just this. Let me show you the main street that's all buttered up and all cleaned up and all that jazz. No, they showed the nitty gritty, muted, drab colors. I mean, they did a really fantastic job of bringing that side out of it. So you're not focusing so much on the set pieces as you are the drama happening between characters and the antagonists.
Yeah, I got a real like film noir feel in this movie. Like it's not there. It's not actually isn't actually film noir, but it kind of get that feel from, especially kind of the muted colors and the character drama and stuff like that.
That's a good point. The colors are very muted. I never really picked that out, but I get, they very much are. Maybe that's something to, like you were saying, John, to make it so you do focus on the action, you do focus on the characters, and you're maybe not looking around as much. I don't know. But at the same time, it's hard not to look around because, like I was saying, it's filmed beautifully. Like that dock scene, like that scene at the very beginning in that first job where they're out there on the river.
Yep.
That is, even though it's at night and the colors are subdued, it's a complete night scene. Oh my goodness. How amazing does that look? That's one of the things I looked at when I was watching this for the second time. Because I got to be honest, the first time I watched it, I was so like overwhelmed that I just, watching it this time, I actually could look around and I saw just how beautiful the river looked. And you could see, I love the shot when they're first driving in. You can see the Eiffel Tower off in the distance lit up. I just thought it was an absolutely beautiful night scene.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I do think the drab colors, at least in a lot of the scenes, are a subtle way to make you pay attention to what the film wants you to actually pay attention to. And there are some not so subtle things that the film pushes you to not to pay attention to. Like, for example, what's in the case. The film is very adamant about, what's in the case doesn't matter. What's in the case doesn't matter.
It's literally a MacGuffin. Yeah.
Yeah, and the film is constantly,
which semi drives me
through
crazy.
De Niro. Well, but
it's not the point. But yeah.
Through De Niro's character, the film is basically telling you this is just, it's a MacGuffin. It's a distraction. Don't pay attention to this. Pay attention to everything else. And I think the film does that in a few different ways, those being two of them, in guiding your concentration and your focus on what really matters and where, the money shot is, where everything is, all of their time, all of their effort, all of the acting goes in to certain points and certain scenes, and that's what they want you to pay attention to. And I think they did a great job at that.
Very much agreed. I agree with that. Very much so. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting also go kind of along with all that is, there's only as much dialogue as there needs to be.
I agree with that.
There's not that much filler, and in the perfect example is the opening scene in the restaurant when he's first going in to kind of meet up with his team. And I mean, there's barely any discussions. It's mostly in French when it is, and it's just enough to like move the story along, which I thought was really, really, really good. It brings up the intensity. It brings up, your wonder of what in the crap's going on, which is what I thought when I first saw this. Like, what, I don't even know what's happening here. Why did he hide a gun outside? Why did he, do all these things? What's the purpose of this? And the minimal speaking, I think, really heightens that.
Well, and then for taking place in Europe, they did a minimal amount of subtitles as well. Like they use subtitles only when absolutely necessary to maintain that same feeling you're describing in a scene. So I absolutely agree and noticed that same exact thing. Like they only spoke and only used subtitles when they absolutely needed it and it was necessary.
And it's not just in that opening scene. It is absolutely, it's throughout the whole movie. They made an effort to just put enough in there to make you feel that just enough to move the story along, but not make it feel empty.
Well, and the dialogue is so important. I mean, they only ever say once that he's stuck with it. He's actually still with the CIA. Only ever say that once. Yeah. And so, I mean, you granted you're supposed to posit this by the time you get to that point in the show, what's actually going on, but maybe, but they still idea. Only ever say it once, and it's one time. They never revisit.
Yeah, it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to tie into the title, and that idea that he's representing himself as a Ronin, he's acting like one, but he actually isn't. And that's kind of the. That's kind of like, it's kind of the point of the whole movie, I think.
I would agree with that.
Is, that he's using this heist as a way to get to his target, and he's doing all the things necessary to act like everyone else in the crew,
Yeah.
But, he was badass for sure.
No, he was absolutely great. Well, and you bring up the Ronin portion. I made a joke at the end of last week's show about not choosing Ronin, but choosing 47 Ronin.
Right.
with Keanu Reeves. What I had forgotten is that the 47 Ronin story, which the movie's based on, is mentioned here in Ronin.
Yeah. It's kind of pivotal to
Yeah,
understanding where the twist at the end of the movie is.
Well,
yeah, well,
and what it is.
And it is important
And-
because they it's like you were saying, it ties into with the title, and that it ties in with that title is because they actually spent a good chunk of time focusing on that. They want you to know that.
And they want you to know who the character, who De Niro actually is underneath it all, that he can, what's the word I'm looking for? Not sympathize, but empathize with the Ronin who, for honor's sake, took their own life, to be remembered and to regain their honor, and that he's able to empathize with that and understand the situation that they're in, and in his own way, lose the girl and continue his mission. So I think it's, like you said, a very pivotal portion of the film that I'm kind of sad I forgot until I watched it again.
For sure.
One thing that you brought up in the beginning was, we were talking about here not too long ago, their speech and them kind of getting together. One thing that I thought was really interesting about the movie was not necessarily just how important the speech was, but how pivotal it was when they were kind of introducing each other. I kind of liked that whole beginning scene when they're first put into whatever, like the loft or whatever they get put into, and they're like kind of sizing each other up. And
Sean Bean's character, the way he plays it, he pulled that off like crazy.
That was some phenomenal acting.
Yeah, it's such a signal. It's such a great foil for Robert De Niro's character, to show the competency. Like, what was it? Like, one of the easiest things they do in screenwriting, I think, is you don't have the main protagonist talk about how competent they are. Instead, you have someone else point out how competent they are. It's usually a boss, it's someone else. Hey, this guy's amazing. He did this, this, and this. Or you have two characters talk about the protagonist to establish how amazing that person is without them necessarily saying it themselves. So this tact is a lot better. I think it works better than explicitly doing it, is like showing us by having an incompetent character who's going to get them all killed, and having Robert De Niro basically expose that to not just the team, but also the audience. I thought that was a really cool writing trick.
And the way they did it, I loved it, the way he did it. Like, you didn't even have any idea. You thought he was just setting down that coffee cup just to go talk to the guy and call him out and stuff like that. Yet I had no idea, that it was all part of the plan to expose this guy for the kind of amateur, talent that he was.
Yeah, I ambushed you with a coffee cup. That's
that's a fantastic line.
That's awesome.
I love how he plays the confident yet not so confident man very well. Like, the insecurity that Sean Bean's able to push into that role was just phenomenal. Like, holy cow.
I believed him. I believed his character, and that was great.
Well, and they did a great job. They did a good enough job for me that every time I watch it, even though I know nothing's going to happen, I feel like Sean Bean's going to come back, because he's been that, seriously miffed and just that seriously slapped down, that of course he's going to want revenge, and of course he's going to want to, show the rest of these guys that he's tougher than De Niro's character. And so every time I watch this, I know nothing's going to happen, but I feel like, oh, this is a perfect setup, because now I really can feel what Sean Bean's doing, to have him come back later on in the show.
I was shocked. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What's funny about that whole scene where he's like, redraw it, and that type of thing. Every once in a while, probably more often than not, when I'm on a whiteboard trying to explain something in a diagram, I keep thinking about that, and I'm waiting for De Niro's character to show up, erase what I wrote, and say, redraw it again. And I'm like, I'm like, no, this is not. I'm not Sean Bean's character in this movie.
Sean Bean, the developer.
Well, yeah, it's more along the lines of like when you're trying to explain something, you're trying to come across as confident, and you never know like when you're going to put something out there in a way that you think is correct, but then there's someone else there that's going to be more competent at it, and they're going to look at it and go, wait, what did you just draw? How does that diagram work? Like, it's a weird thing to kind of run up against. when you're leading a team or whatever, but still, it's something that
It's
something I still think about every once in a while. He's basically muscle. He's the gun guy, that type of thing.
Yeah, literally, that's the quote. I'm the gun man.
Yeah.
I was just shocked he was taken out so soon, as big of an actor as he was. Like, it's pretty early.
Well, I don't think he was that big at the time.
You don't think so?
Yeah, that was pretty young.
Do you think there was
early Sean Bean?
Do you think there was more of a meaning behind like why they brought him in and then they took him out again? Because they do mention later in the movie that, they're low on people. They don't have enough people. Is that, you think I was on purpose to like make it more tense to, because they have less people?
No, well, it depends on who you're talking about. Are you talking about the writers, or are you talking about the in-universe characters?
The writers.
The writers. I think it's what I was talking about earlier, where they needed a character to establish how badass.
You think that was his only purpose?
Robert De Niro's. I think it's main purpose.
Okay.
I would suspect that's his main purpose. The other purpose is, yes, it makes him down a man, which makes, the whole thing more tense. And that's where you get Robert De Niro's character constantly saying, can we get more guys? Call your guy, call your handler, find out if we can, he's trying to, and they're like, are you trying to save your skin? Yes, it, it covers my body, that type of stuff.
I love that. That was a great line.
Yeah. And, that whole thing was, I think Sean Bean's character is written for that purpose.
Okay. Yeah, and he did a great job for it. And it's interesting. Sean Bean's role in here is kind of like the antithesis of the role he plays in GoldenEye, where he's this badass spy and he can do all these things. And then you get him in Ronin, which is how many years later? It's like 3 or 4 years later, because GoldenEye was 94 or 95, I think, where he's playing this bumbling, fresh out of boot camp gunman. I think it just shows the range of acting Sean Bean has.
Yeah, he's amazing, and he didn't die in this movie, which was incredible.
No, yeah, well, I mean, I think he figuratively died. I think he was pretty much murdered straight up with that coffee cup.
Yeah, I never get a sense that his character was coming back. I think his character did the job that it needed to do, and then he's out of the script at that point, because the script needs to move on.
Well, and they kind of found a different person to kind of, come back and kind of flip the tables on it, on this show. I didn't anticipate Stellan Skarsgård's character, which he's a great actor, by the way. Every time I see him, I don't necessarily think of him always as an actor, but when I see him, every time it's like, wow, he is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and his kids are amazing. I mean, I think he blew it away in this movie, and he was not the character that you think he is in the beginning, which I thought was interesting. I thought that was a great little twist, Spoilers, I guess.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I'm just joking.
If you're listening to this and you haven't watched the movie, you're not following the pattern, you got to expect to be spoiled.
Yeah, how dare you?
Well, you can. I mean, you don't have to watch the movie to listen to this, but you're going to get spoilers.
Yeah. No, I thought that was an interesting little twist that he kind of turned into the bad guy. You thought you knew who the bad guy was. Maybe. And then it turned out to be him.
Well, sort of.
Kinda.
I mean, he's like one of the antagonists, and then the other antagonist.
He's chaos. He's chaos. That's thrown in the mix there. I mean, he'd make a great Bond villain too. I think I would live to see the day where Stellan Skarsgård's a good Bond villain.
Oh, he could pull it off really easy.
I mean, you already had the all-star Bond villain cast in this movie. You had Michael Lonsdale, who is in Moonraker, Jonathan Pryce, which is in Tomorrow Never Dies, as the villain, and then Sean Bean in GoldenEye. So you already had the all-star cast of Bond villains.
I thought I recognized those guys from somewhere.
Yeah, Moonraker was probably my favorite Bond film for a long time as a kid.
I don't know why, but Jean Reno's character was great. I loved Vincent.
I actually went out on purpose to find out what his name was, because I see him and I didn't know him, because he is such
professional. If you haven't seen that yet, we're going to watch it at some point.
I haven't, but I need to. It sounds like
yes.
The Professional. I've heard that's great. He is so good.
Oh, you haven't seen The Professional?
I haven't. No.
Wow. Yeah, we got to take a day for it.
I thought he was the great sidekick in this movie. Like, and I don't even think he was necessarily, even though he was a sidekick, he was definitely. I don't think De Niro's character would have been as good if he didn't have him.
Oh, and yeah, it works better with his character with Vincent there. Yeah,
and he's a good actor. What I was saying is this is just how good of an actor he is. He's just and I need to. I think I need to see more of him.
I mean, you saw him in Mission Impossible, right? The original.
The original, yeah, I did. Yeah. He was great in that.
Yep.
He needs to be in more things.
I don't know if I can name a film that he wasn't necessarily great in. He does such a good job.
That's a good point. And he can go toe to toe with De Niro. That's the thing that shows how good of an actor he is. That's what blows my mind is I didn't ever feel like he was any less, sitting next to that, great Robert De Niro. He definitely can hold his own. Which is amazing, which, not everybody can say they can do that. But yeah, he definitely is a huge standout to the point where I had to make sure I saw his name in the credits to see who he was to make sure to compliment him on a job well done. And that ending scene with him, when they're just sitting in the cafe, talking to each other. I love that. What's the comment? I love how they keep talking about the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks him, like, so what was in the box? He's like, I don't know, I forgot.
Rule number 2.
Yeah, exactly. And I just love that interplay between them because that's just what made that partnership so much fun throughout the whole thing.
For sure.
And stuff. And then I think the next thing I really, really enjoyed, I marked down a car scene that I thought was, one of the car chases that I thought was specifically awesome. And I know they're all awesome here, but I loved that scene in the villa where they're, still don't know about Stellan Skarsgård. And that's why I brought him up is he's, still in the van, they're tracking down the people and they're in that villa. And I thought that was so cool how they were, at an early time when not a lot of people had cell phones, they were using like cell phones to triangulate. Mm-hmm. And then they had that device that, made the stoplight go to red. And I thought that was really well shot. I thought that was very action packed. And I just thought the scenery was beautiful in that scene.
Oh yeah. And I was like, I remember when first time I watched that and he's the way they filmed it, you don't even know he's sitting in a car with a grenade launcher and a rocket launcher.
Exactly.
And he just pulls out this grenade launcher and he's like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. I'm like,
pulls it out of his leg, pulls it out of his pants leg and just
he unwraps it from a
blanket.
Blanket on the back of on the back seat of the car. And it's cool because the director, they shot it so that you get all the setup. Like you get to see all the parts set up and there's a patience in it. Like they hold the camera on De Niro with his hand on the door handle, ready to open it and the grenade launcher in his hand. And it's like, okay, you get to feel the anticipation with the characters. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's such an enjoyable setup.
Every time I get to that car chase, all I can think about is I freaking love this movie so much.
Yeah.
As it goes through the whole thing, and I'm just like, this is the best movie ever. I just absolutely adore it. And like you said, that a sense of anticipation, they do a fantastic job of just building that up and building up the underlying sense of anticipation for, the final snatch and grab or what's going to happen in the end. So I think they did a fantastic job. It's like the entire movie is that shot of De Niro with his hand on the door, and they do a great job of maintaining that tension throughout.
Mm-hmm.
And then the at the end of that car scene with the whole switcheroo where you find out again who's on whose side, maybe somewhat. I just thought that was kind of a good ending of that of that scene, whereas that car explodes and they kind of drive away in that. It was just a great kind of cap on that scene after everything that just kind of happened and. It
was really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was amazing and stuff. Again, that whole car scene, if I had to pick one of the many that are in there that are so amazing, this was probably my favorite of them all by a long shot. Even though, a lot of the stuff in some of the other ones where they're going through the tunnel and things like that stuff's just amazing too. In that car scene. But yeah. That was my favorite scenes.
How much did everybody squirm when they were cutting the bullet out of him? I still have a hard time watching that.
Not very much, mainly because I think I watched Master and Commander, where if you remember, he has to remove a bullet from himself, and that one I think was worse.
All right.
And if not worse, comparable.
I mean, I guess I'm not thinking of all the other horror and torture movies out there to compare. I would still squirm at this one just because I'd squirm at the other ones.
I mean, if we were comparing, I squirmed at the one in where Matt Damon has taken the bullet out of himself, or that piece of the antenna out of himself on Mars.
Oh, yeah, that one's pretty good too. But this is no Hostel, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sitting there watching the movie thinking, you know what? I've seen grosser. I've seen more gross versions of this.
Yeah.
No, I'm watching it going, okay, how badass is this character? And how amazing is this idea of like, okay, I'm gonna pass out now. It's like just the way that ended.
Yeah, that whole line is like, so you want to do this? I'm like, no, I'm gonna pass out.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass out now, if you don't mind.
That was fantastic. Nothing. What's that?
That whole set of scenes inside that chateau was just amazingly well done, and it was like we said earlier, so pivotal to the film.
Nice slow down. It was a nice little midpoint slowdown between two big action set pieces. Well, kind of three, and yeah.
No, I like it, in a lot of movies, I wouldn't necessarily like that, I mean, you do need a little bit of a slowdown to kind of catch your breath. This was a lot longer than normal.
Yeah.
But I think it fit really well because they had to kind of get in. I mean, this guy that they went to who took care of him, he was kind of mysterious in his own ways. They don't really say how they know him or,
right.
whatever. And then, the kind of that intrigue when he starts telling the story of the Ronins and stuff, and that interchange that they have, I think that's a good slowdown, which also kind of almost ramps up the character of Robert De Niro's character to kind of like continue on with what he's doing as well. Give him some, energy.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Sure.
And then, go into leading into that last scene, which, the ice skating rink scene, which after watching Eurovision, the movie on Netflix, really made me think of Eurovision when I saw that.
I was thinking the same thing.
No way.
I just watched I'd watched Eurovision before the rewatch of this movie for the podcast.
Oh, is that right?
So, yeah, I just watched it this week. So I had the same kind of thought of Eurovision. It was great.
Yeah, it really did. It really triggered me on that one.
Like the whole set of like Europop and the lights coming on and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was great.
Let's go ahead.
I was gonna say, just dear listeners, if you haven't seen it already, go watch Eurovision.
Oh yeah,
it's really good too.
My wife has been listening to the music for about a week and a half now, and stuff. She loves all the little funny songs in it and stuff. So again, this is where like we're doing an advertisement for Eurovision, I guess, on Netflix. But it is fun, and I did enjoy it. Anyways, but this is what kind of got me in, gave me that feel. I do have a question about this scene because there's one thing I'm trying to figure out. Why did they shoot the ice skater again? I mean, is that just a distraction?
No, that was the threat against the Russians. Is that the Russian leader is dating Katarina Witt's character.
Okay.
And so Skarsgård's character is basically trying to hold her hostage. And essentially he overestimated the relationship between those two. The Russian doesn't care. He's going to let her die because he gets to kill Skarsgård's character and
keep the money
and get the case. And so because he doesn't let him call, his shooter in the stands kills her. So it was basically it was basically the Skarsgård getting it wrong.
Okay. Because I guess I
And it's
misinterpreted that
satisfying.
scene a little bit.
It's satisfying to see his character get it wrong after getting most of the things right. It's satisfying to see him to get this one, crucial detail wrong, and how quickly that led to him just going, "Nope, you're dead. You're done now, Dylan. You're gone."
Yeah, that was. I'm going to be honest with you. That the last scene, the ice skating scene, after coming off all these like other scenes, for some reason it was a little bit anticlimactic for me. I'm not sure why. Even though it's still really good. Like when they first get to the ice skating rink and stuff like that, and then after all that goes down, after they shoot the girl and stuff, then I feel like it picks up again. But it's definitely kind of I feel like it's kind of like a little bit of there's a lot of setup, I guess, going on. That I kind of I felt like it was a little slow, and then it picks right up again. But I mean, that was like one of the few scenes in that movie that I felt that way in. And there's not too many movies I can say that about.
Yeah, I mean, after the previous two action set pieces, well, kind of three even if we count the bridge in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
I can see how it would feel anticlimactic. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's not as high as the other ones as far as like just engagement, but other than that,
no one's denying it was a great
ending.
Yeah, no one's denying that.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was a little bit lower key than the rest, which kind of surprised me a little bit because it was towards the end of the movie.
Right.
But then that final chase scene at the very end, I think makes up for it. When they're looking for Seamus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that whole scene, and then him looking for looking for him because he's got the package now. He's got the MacGuffin now, and then that interchange between De Niro and the girl. I thought that was what's that?
Deirdre.
Is that her? Okay, I couldn't remember her name. Deidre in the car. I thought that was a really cool exchange because you felt like you knew there was kind of a relationship building there, but that kind of he finally got to express kind of his feelings towards her, which was kind of satisfying to me that about that there was kind of a relationship, but then it kind of had to
Well, he chose country over love. Yeah,
exactly.
He basically was that's what John was talking about earlier, that he showed that he wasn't a Ronin at that point. So he didn't choose. He chose his lord. He was a samurai. He chose his lord over his fellow Ronin.
And he made a sacrifice. He sacrificed that
relationship.
To maintain his honor, so to speak, of, like you said,
get his guy. I don't know if I didn't really get the like his conversation with the guy at the chateau. He was like, well, they chose wrong. Like he's not that honor bound, but he kind of knows he was never a Ronin in the first place. He was just
maybe. I don't know. I think I chalk that one up to a lot of people misunderstanding the importance of seppuku. So I may have incorrectly maybe chalked that up to De Niro's character simply not understanding the cultural significance of that act and how important that is.
Well, I think that's why the character at the chateau, he tried to explain it. He said, you understand this, you understand the warrior code and stuff like that. And De Niro's like, maybe. and maybe that was and maybe that was him attempting to still play the Ronin, and this guy is seeing through it. He's seeing through it and going, you're still an honorable warrior type thing. And De Niro's like, not really. I'm just trying to get paid. So he might be disassembling, but who knows?
Maybe that was a little bit of trying to foreshadow a little bit in a kind of hidden way of who he was.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the script writers basically trying to set up the final, that scene with her in the car, and he's telling her to get away, and he's like, I never left, so yeah,
it's a good point.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know any of the writers. I don't have any insight. It's just the way I saw it. So
Exactly.
Well, gentlemen, that is all of my notes.
That's all I've got too, guys.
Yeah, it was pretty good. You want to give your ratings?
I thought that was really good discussion about it. I'll go ahead. You go ahead first.
Okay.
I've got to scroll down here and see what mine was. There we go.
I will give it 16 out of 21 boathouses at Hereford.
Nice.
That's a deep cut. All right.
So, would I watch this movie with my mother in the room? And the answer is yes. But then I would pause it every few scenes to make sure she understood the meaning of the word Ronin.
Oh, I'm sure she would love that.
And every scene, pause it, explain to her the significance of the scene, because that's how much I love this movie. I make sure it's all taken in. Can't let it go.
That's funny.
So,
man.
Josh, what about you?
My rating is 8 out of 10 aluminum MacGuffins.
All right.
Cases that we still have no idea what's in the case.
Yeah, you're not supposed to. It's not the point. I mean, in the end, Seamus is the prize that the protagonist is going after, not the case.
Yeah.
So
And
again, the case doesn't matter.
The movie constantly tells you to ignore the case.
I know it.
And yet it always chases the case. So
Yeah.
Sometimes that drives me crazy in a movie. I mean, I love this movie a lot.
Fiction.
What? Yes. Yes. Oh, don't you get me started on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any movie that's kind of does that a lot, kind of drives me crazy a little bit. There's always something passing around or moving around.
Unobtainium.
What's that?
Unobtainium.
Oh, that's another good one. Anyways, all right. You guys ready for my 3 choices for next week?
All right, bring it.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's see how if I hidden them good enough here. Number 1, a deep diving expedition. Number 2, the ending has a bit of a stinger. Number 3, you drive me crazy, like no one else.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a UB40 reference. I got to think the deep dive one's like one of the James Cameron movies.
Yeah, maybe. Could always be U571 too.
UB40? No, that would be a stretch. But I mean, if he's using the name of the group, but it could be. Okay, so we have the deep one, the stinger one, and the UB40 one.
Well, for me, it's between the deep dive and the UB40.
If I know what number 1 is, I might want that one the most.
Okay. Well, I'm good with doing number 1, the deep diving.
All right, let's do number 1.
Let's do it.
I was hoping you do 1 or 3. I was hoping you do 1 or 3.
Okay.
Okay, number 2.
The other 2, yeah.
Number 2 was the ending has a bit of a stinger is Ant-Man.
Okay.
That's a heist movie because
straight up.
Yeah, that's straight up.
Hey, that's a good one, Josh.
That's a really good
title.
Man.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good job.
I did not see that one coming, so.
You drive me crazy like no one else. That one's Baby Driver.
UB40 isn't in that one. So
I know, but he still listens to music. I know.
He does. He listens to music. So yeah.
He drives me. You drive me crazy. That's really the reference.
Oh yeah, I got you. Got it. You
All
threw
right,
me off
what do
with
we
the
pick?
reference, but that's cool.
I know. And then number 1, a deep diving expedition is Inception.
Okay.
Oh, it's not what I thought it was then.
Yeah. No, these are really good titles, Josh. You did a good
Inception's
job.
going to be fun though.
Yeah, I love it. It's on Netflix now.
I haven't seen it in a while too, so like
I haven't either, actually.
Probably years I haven't seen it. So
my wife brought this up to me. Like I was trying to think of a good movie, and you're like, my wife's like, Inception's a heist movie at its core, right?
Yeah.
It is a heist movie of memories.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm like,
Crank up your bass.
holy crap! Yeah, okay. Yeah, get the rumble going on.
Yeah.
Good. Like I said, one or 3 were my 2 favorites of this one. I actually was on the borderline of, well, maybe I shouldn't tell you the other one I was going to do. I don't think it matters at this point.
Yeah.
Was Rogue One. because Rogue One is,
Yeah, it's a heist movie.
it's also a heist movie.
Yeah.
But it's also one that someone would absolutely
Man, you
pick.
guys have left a lot on the table for me for next week.
That's good.
There's a lot out there.
Ton of movies out there.
I passed over a few movies because I'm like, Crit would probably bring this one to the table.
It's going to be really hard. I won't add it since I'm going to say it here, but it'd be really hard not to pick Heat. But I don't think we're going to do like 2 Robert De Niro movies in a row.
I looked at Heat. I got to be honest. I've never seen it, guys.
You've never seen? Oh,
this is a De Niro themed podcast now.
It is.
Guys, I love heist movies. There's just a lot of them I haven't seen.
Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in Heat.
Isn't that one also got it's got also a Batman in it too, doesn't it?
Yes.
The guy.
Got me blanking on the name now.
Why can't I think of his name?
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer.
Yeah, I'm just like, Batman?
Yeah, but he's got an important but supporting role. It's really the Al Pacino and Robert De Niro show.
I love Val Kilmer though.
And when those two have that talk where they're sitting across from each other in the diner, it is epic and just as good as everybody says it is.
I have to watch that one again this week alongside Inception, I think.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Inception. I used to watch it a lot, and I haven't watched it for a couple of years now.
Josh, let's watch Heat on Thursday if we're good.
Let's do it
while we eat bao.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's finish this up. Let me just finish this up real fast. Thanks for listening to Josh's Herd. Wow. Thanks for listening to Josh's House of Nerd. And as always, may you be excellent to each other and live long and prosper from us here at Josh's House of Nerd. Good night.
Thanks for watching. For more nerdy awesomeness, please like and subscribe.